Yay.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, welcome, y'all. Let's try that again. Before we get to the fun stuff today, we do have a quick note from our friends in legal. By registering for and attending this event, you understand that Airbnb may record video, take photographs, or capture content. Content may include your name, likeness, and voice. You consent to being depicted in the content and grant Airbnb an unrestricted, perpetual, non-exclusive, and sub-licensable right to take, use, display, perform, distribute, or exploit the content for any lawful and commercial purpose. I also have the Zoom AI companion used to capture any additional commentary. So if you do not want your voice or comments captured, please feel free to disconnect. And I am going to send out a copy of the recording after the call. So, welcome to our new series, Tips from a Co-host Creating More Referrals. Many of you have shared feedback that you'd like more insights on how to connect with new hosts and grow your business. And some of the most successful members of our co-host community have shared that they're effective tips and are excited to pass them along to you all. And I do want to give a very special warm welcome to our co-hosts from the UK who are joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us at the end of your day. Really appreciate you being here, and hopefully you find this useful. So to support this, we have organized a three-part workshop series where members of our co-host community will be sharing their tips directly. Over the series, you will hear practical strategies and real-life examples of what's working best. If you did miss our first part of the series, the Expanding Your Network, please check the co-host community center for a recording of the workshop in case you missed it. My colleague Alice, who's also here monitoring the chat, she's going to drop a link there for y'all in case you missed it and you want to see it. Today, we are chatting through building your online presence, so how to use social media for referrals. And then our last workshop in the series, Connecting with New Clients, will take place on October 15th. So during today's session, we will hear from Brindy, who's a co-host from Arizona. She'll be sharing her own tips on how she uses social media sites and tools to showcase her services, highlight her unique skills, and attract new hosts online. There will be time at the end to ask Brindy any questions, and again, a recording of the session and any resources available will be shared after this workshop. So just a quick little introduction to Brindy. She has been hosting on Airbnb since 2017, and she's been a part of the co-host network for about 2 years. So in her own words, Brindy got her start in 2017 by listing her own home on Airbnb to earn some extra cash. She quickly saw the potential and found joy in hosting, which led her to begin co-hosting in 2018. Today, she co-hosts 28 homes across Arizona with the support of a tight-knit team of 4. Brindy is also an Airbnb ambassador and mentor, guiding hosts through one-to-one support and weekly webinars. She loves helping others get started and build businesses they're proud of. So again, thank you so much, Brindy. We're so excited to have you share your expertise, and thank you for being part of this series.
Awesome.
But
Thank you.
before
Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead,
yeah.
Jess.
No worries. Yeah. Before I pass it over to Brindy, I'm just gonna go through a quick little refresher on how referrals work. So though hosts can find you through the co-host network, seeking out hosts in your community can be an effective strategy to help grow your business. And you may be eligible to receive rewards when you refer new hosts to work with you on the co-host network. Alice, if you can just drop that link to the referral page just to give some additional tips on the referral program. So there are many reasons to prospect hosts. They can help you grow your business by targeting specific types of hosts or listing that align with the services that you offer. It can increase your visibility and volume of host leads by spreading the word about your services to hosts outside of the co-host network and to reach individuals who may not know the co-host network exists yet. And finally, you may be eligible to earn rewards through the host referral program. Now, you can access your referral link from two places, but it is important to decide who you want to refer before you share. So if you would like to refer a new experience, home, or services host to get started on their own, you can send your referral link through your host referral page. For example, if you'd like to refer a professional photographer, you can send them a referral by visiting airbnb.com/refer. If you would like to refer a new host to work with you as a co-host, you can share your referral link directly through your co-host dashboard. This will allow you to seamlessly get connected and help them with their listing. So let's chat through your referral dashboard first, where you can refer an experienced home or service host to get started on their own. You can find your referral link directly in the Airbnb app under the Refer a Host option, which will then take you directly to airbnb.com/refer. Here you can choose the type of host you are referring, whether homes, experiences, or services. Once you have selected the type of host you're referring, you can send them your referral link. And as part of our latest updates, we've made it easier for you to share that referral link. Once you've sent the link, make sure the prospective host clicks on the referral link to find out if they are eligible. If they are eligible, they'll see your name at the top where it says referred by. And once they confirm they see your name, then make sure the prospective host uses your link to create their first listing. Please note that although a successful connection can occur, hosts that sign up for a shared space or private room will not qualify for a reward. Once they've accepted your referral link by clicking Create Your Listing, you can track the new host status in your referral dashboard. At the top, you can see which new hosts you've referred across homes, experiences, or services, and you'll be able to see the status of that referral. They will show up in your dashboard either under completed. These have hosted their first eligible booking, and the reward has been sent to your account. If a status is listed as in progress, these hosts haven't hosted their first eligible booking yet. Or if something comes up as expired or ineligible, these hosts didn't meet the requirements to earn you a reward. Now, if we go over through the co-host dashboard referrals. So if you discover an eligible host who isn't currently part of the co-host network, you can invite them to partner with you by sending a referral link directly from your co-host dashboard. To find this link on desktop, navigate to the upper right-hand corner of the page and click that money bag emoji. Once you copy the link, you can share it with your potential host, and that link will take them straight to your co-host profile, making it simple for them to connect and begin collaborating with you. The prospective host will land directly here on your co-host profile, where they can learn more about you and what services you offer. It is important to emphasize to your prospective host that in order for the connection and referral process to begin, the new host must be the one to send you the very first message. So when you share your referral link, make sure to let them know that you won't be able to initiate contact on your own. The system is designed this way to ensure that the host is interested and takes the first step. So after you provide your referral link, kindly remind them to reach out to you directly through the platform. Once they send you that initial message, you'll be able to connect, start the conversation, and move forward with the co-hosting partnership. Once you receive that first message from that prospective host, make sure to reply promptly in order to start the conversation and establish the connection. This initial exchange is an important step, and it allows both of you to get acquainted, clarify any expectations, and discuss any questions about the co-hosting partnership. After you reply, the new host will have the option to formally invite you to co-host with them. To do this, they should open your conversation and select the Details button, which is located at the top right corner of the message screen. From there, they'll see the option to send a co-host invitation directly through the platform. As a reminder, for the referral process to be finalized, hosts and co-hosts must communicate and establish a clear connection within the Airbnb messaging system. It's also important to note that organic referrals, those that have been initiated outside of the co-host network, do not impact your response rate calculation. This means you can focus on building a strong partnership with your new co-host without worrying about your response metrics being affected. From here, the host will send you an invite to co-host. This will apply whether you are helping them manage an existing listing or helping them to create a new listing. When you navigate to your co-host dashboard on desktop, you'll be able to easily track the progress of your referrals. After your prospective hosts have accepted your referral link and sent you an invitation to co-host, their information will appear in your dashboard. You'll see their name listed with the status of new, and the property address will be marked as referral. This makes it simple to identify new connections that are a result of your referral efforts. From there, you can monitor their status and provide support according to the terms you've agreed upon, ensuring a smooth start to your co-hosting partnership. So the Airbnb sponsored portion of this presentation has ended. The remaining material is optional and has been created and will be delivered by Brindy. Airbnb does not endorse or guarantee the accuracy of this information, but I will now pass the mic over to Brindy to chat through her tips. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing, and then Brindy, take it away.
Awesome. That's my cue. Thank you, Jessica. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let's see. Everybody sees that? Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Yep. My name is Brindy. I'm joining from Scottsdale, Arizona. And yeah, first, just a huge thank you to Airbnb for inviting me to be here. It's so awesome to be brought together as co-hosts to learn and grow. This is really cool. I think to all of us to be, it's like the first time. I mean, I know there was another session, but this is literally the second time that we're coming together as co-hosts with Airbnb. So I love that we're doing this. Thank you so much. So yes, today we are diving into online presence, and I really believe that this is one of our most powerful tools as co-hosts. This is how we put ourselves out into the world. This is how we share what we do in an authentic way, and how we can connect with the right owners and really the people that we want to work with. So my hope is that after our time together today, you'll walk away with clarity on at least one thing that you can do to grow your online presence. So we'll go ahead and dive in. And so for starters, just a little bit about me and my hosting journey. Like Jessica said in my intro, I got started back in 2017 only because I needed some extra cash. So who else got started listing their own home because you needed some extra cash? I know I'm not the only one. So that's how I got started. I was working full time for a tech startup here in Phoenix. And right away, I just totally fell in love with hosting. It is true that when I got started, I was just doing it for the money, but it was just after those first couple of guests that I was thinking to myself, this is really cool, and I would love to find a way to do more of this. And maybe someday I can quit my job and do this full time. So that was what I started putting out there. I was in no position to buy an investment property. I was just renting out my own home that I lived in while I traveled or stayed with my parents or stayed the night at a friend's house. I was pretty scrappy back then. I was in no position to buy an investment property, so I did have to get creative about how to grow. So I had what felt like a very original idea at the time. I thought to myself, what if I could host other homes that I didn't own, and earn a percentage of the earnings? So kind of funny because that's now a well-known career that we're all involved in. So I unknowingly started a co-hosting business because back then it really wasn't a common term used to describe what we do, which made it really hard to talk about what we did. So it's a lot easier now because co-hosting is a pretty widely recognized term. So I did start co-hosting in 2018, and actually an interesting little side note, I did find my first client on Airbnb's original co-host network. This was like more or less Airbnb's first iteration of the co-host platform. It existed for a very short time, just long enough for me to find my first client that actually connected me to like 8 other clients. So I really do believe in the power of a platform like Airbnb has created here, because it is how I started my business and what led to a lot of my early clients. And so back up a little, by January of 2020, I had 2 homes that I was co-hosting with 4 on the way. And this is when I decided to take the leap, quit my full-time job so that I could do this full-time. And just to make sure that we're not over glamorizing the position that I was in, the 4+2 homes that I had were all very small, like apartment type homes that really weren't earning a ton. I had just paid off my car. I was renting a home out of my ex-boss's house, so my bills were very low. And I remember thinking to myself, if I can earn $2,000 a month, I'll be set. And that's exactly where I was at when I quit my full-time job. So it wasn't like I was, raking it in when I quit, but I wanted to take the leap. That's what I did. In 2021, I launched my Instagram account, which is what I'm going to focus on today, with 0 followers. That's where we all start. I had my own personal Instagram that I would occasionally post to, but I wanted a clean slate for my business. And when I got started on Instagram, I really wasn't sure what this was going to be. I remember at first I felt really uncomfortable showing my face on Instagram. It was really just a place to show off my houses and some of my design projects. And while I loved the idea of using social media to grow my business, I really had no idea how that could actually happen. So I've learned a lot since then, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But anyway, to finish up my timeline, finally on the brink of total burnout after adding 10 or so homes, I hired my first employee in October of 2022. That was a big turning point for my business, allowed me to scale a lot quicker. And today we are a team of 4. We host 28 homes all over Arizona. This is my one and only full-time career. And with that, we will move on and talk about some of the specific steps that I've taken and how building an online presence has allowed me to grow my business and has really shaped the business that I have today. So I'm going to go through 6 steps, just kind of doing my best to reverse engineer how I got here. And step 1, pretty basic, choose which platforms you want to show up on. And I think the key here is you do not have to do it all. In fact, you're going to be better off if you do just focus on 1, maybe 2 platforms. So I'm very intentional about putting all of my effort into only 2 platforms. I mean, honestly, it's pretty much 1, Instagram. But I believe you'll have a lot more impact by doing this. So you want to show up where you think your ideal client is most likely to show up, and also where you're going to be able to show up with the most ease and authenticity. So that might be a little bit different for everybody. Each of these platforms have their own personality. So those are really the 2 questions you want to weigh. Where is my ideal client, and where can I show up as my most authentic self? I think for me that it's clearly Instagram. LinkedIn is another really great one. I kind of listed these in orders of what I kind of see as the potential. TikTok, I think you have to be careful with because it's a lot of younger users. We might not be having like the people who are looking for managers to host their investment projects. And also you might end up with followers from all over the world, a little less likely to connect with people that are right in your area who you can actually host for. Anyways, a lot of different options, but I think the key here is just really decide where you want to focus and go all in on that. And I know the hardest part is getting started. But you've got to start from somewhere. Everyone starts at 0, so do not let that hold you back. You just got to take that first step. All right, next up, the next step is quite simple. Document your experience. And so I think, when you're first getting started, it can feel like a lot of pressure, even though, you don't have any followers yet. It feels like all eyes are on you. And I know how much anxiety that can create, but it's really important to just let yourself share. And so I think during this first phase, and maybe you've already launched a social media account, but you're feeling kind of burnt out by it or exhausted by it. So you can kind of start over and just give yourself this moment to get curious about what you share when you give yourself the opportunity. Don't think about, the what the people want. Think about like, what do you actually want to share? Like what's on your mind that you want to put out into the world? And the first key here is just to commit to showing up. You really have to commit to showing up. It's not easy to show up on social media every day or a few times a week, however often you're doing it. And you really need to commit to it to be able to consistently show up. And just share what is easy to share. I know it's really hard to do, but try not to overthink it. Just share what comes up for you. You want to make sure that you're engaging with those first couple of people that start liking your posts and commenting and sending you messages. You want to be very curious about who are you actually reaching and what are they asking? Like, what is the post that gets them, that prompts them to message you or comment on your stuff? And then you also want to create a very clear bio. So creating a bio is a good exercise for you to get clear on your business. And it's also a very important element for your profile. So of course, it's going to look a little different if you're on LinkedIn versus Instagram. I'm focusing on what I'm good at, which is Instagram. And so really the key with a good bio is two parts: who you help and how. And so an example for maybe a short-term rental coach would be helping hosts turn side hustles into thriving short-term rental businesses. Or maybe more specific to co-hosting, you can say, we help Arizona vacation homeowners earn more while we handle the hosting. Or helping second homeowners enjoy passive income with stress-free short-term rental management. So you just really want to narrow it down to those two things: who you help and how. And as simple as that sounds, I mean, you can spend a full day getting clear on this, and it is not time lost, because if you're not able to come up with this right away, don't be hard on yourself. But this is something you want to get really clear on. So no time is wasted getting super, super clear on who you help and how. Also during this phase, do not worry about likes or followers. That is not what this phase is about. This phase is about uncovering what it is that you have to share. So later on, you can work on strategies, which we'll talk more about, that focus on getting more seen. But during this phase, it's so important not to put any unnecessary pressure on yourself, because this will block your creativity. Only speaking from experience. And then another really important piece of this phase is do not overconsume content. A phrase that I've heard that I think is really true is you cannot create and consume at the same time. So it's one or the other. If you're consuming content, you're not creating content. And so while yes, other people's content can help inspire you, you do not want to fall into the trap that I did for a little while, where you're doom scrolling, thinking, justifying it because you're getting inspiration. But overconsumption truly is like the thief of creativity. It will work against you. It will make you feel like you're not doing enough, and it will keep you from your goals. So I actually, not too long ago, downloaded an app on my phone because I was mindlessly breaking through the timer that is on iPhone. And so I needed something a little bit more difficult to break through. So I downloaded an app called Opal. I love it. It's really hard to break through. That will keep me off of Instagram if I just start doom scrolling. And that's actually been super helpful for me, because if I'm consuming, I'm not creating, I'm not moving my business forward. And that's something that we really do have to keep in check. And it's really tough because at the end of the day, these apps, I'm talking all about it as a tool to grow your business, but they're also really designed to steal our attention and keep us from doing the things that we really want. So there's kind of two sides that we really have to keep in check here. All right, next up, this is something that made a huge difference for me. Something that really helped me break through some of the early challenges that I had in showing up on social media was a 30-day posting challenge. And so this was really helpful because it will feel really cringy at first when you start putting your stuff out there. And unless you work through that, you will not get to the other side. So the magic of making yourself post for 30 days straight. So just to get clear, 30-day posting challenge means posting every single day for 30 days. And so the magic of this is you'll start to get comfortable showing up exactly as you are. Posting daily is the best antidote to perfectionism. So you don't have time to overthink if you're having to get something out every day. You just have to get it out there. And believe it or not, the real irony in this that I've discovered for myself time and time again is that it's those imperfect posts that are usually the ones that get a little closer to sharing what you actually want to say and get further reach. And so it's really helpful to just make yourself do it. I always joke about how my two biggest Instagram accomplishments is the time I stayed off of Instagram for 30 days and then the time that I posted on Instagram every day for 30 days straight. I consider both of them very, very big accomplishments. But the 30-day posting challenge was a big moment for me, that there was a big breakthrough that happened in those 30 days. So it's amazing how good we are at getting in our own way. So something like this is a really great way to kickstart your online presence. And once again, you can do this starting with 0 followers, or if you have an account that you just feel exhausted by, not excited about, that you've maybe given up on, this might be a way that you can reignite that and try again. So the really good news about content right now is that people love authenticity. They don't want the overly filtered, edited version. They want the bloopers, they want the behind the scenes, they want real moments. And so this really takes a lot of pressure off. And the only way to build that muscle is by practicing it every single day. So that's why this challenge really, really works. So I challenge you to the 30-day posting challenge if you're serious, about growing your online presence. Okay, step 3. So now that you've completed the 30-day challenge, you've hopefully worked through a lot of the muck. And so hopefully by now you've learned a lot about how you naturally show up when you give yourself the chance. So now it's time to add some strategy and refine. So what you want to do at this phase is look back at what has worked. What has sparked conversation? What did you enjoy creating? Like this, usually those things go hand in hand. Very interesting. Like what you enjoy creating the most is often the thing that lands most with other people. And so based off of that, start to build a strategy. So I'm going to borrow a little bit from my own strategy. So first, you've got to choose that platform. Mine is Instagram. I think that's a great place to start, but start, wherever feels most aligned with you and your business. Next up, you want to choose your posting frequency. And so I aim to post around 4 times per week. I mean, my goal is to post 4 times per week. That's a good amount. That's like the amount that they say, is the best practice for keeping an account healthy. It's also a good amount to do where you're consistent without burning yourself out, but also do not be hard on yourself about this. My hunch is we've got some overachievers on the call, and I know what can happen if you're like, oh no, I didn't post for, I'm a failure. I didn't meet my goal. And then, you stop it altogether. And so, you really don't want to do that. Like the reality is I probably only post 4 times a week, 60% of the time. I've been hard on myself about that at different points. I've gotten a lot better about that because at the end of the day, my account is growing and I'm earning business through my account, and that's what really matters. And so give yourself a goal, but don't be too hard on yourself about it. Next, you want to think about content types. Of course, this is going to look different on each platform, but on Instagram, I found a lot of success by mixing it up. You want to do a little bit of each. Short video format, we all know that that's what's getting a lot of reach right now, but also those carousel posts, where you've got a lot of, also referred to as a photo dump, those get a lot of views as well and are very engaging. And so videos as well as carousels, very helpful. And I love stories just for posting like quick behind the scenes updates. Stories is really how you engage the people who are already following you and continue to nurture that group of people who are already following along. Whereas reels are a really good way to reach people who might not be following you yet. Then next up, you want to choose your content pillars. So this is a really good, just kind of like thinking through your bio. Choosing your content pillars is another really good activity that will help you bring some clarity into your business. Just choosing 3 subjects or lanes that you want to rotate through. So for example, my content pillars is first behind the scenes of co-hosting, next educational tips or how-tos, and then finally funny or relatable content. So those are all of my content fits into one of those 3 buckets. And I think 3 is a really good number. You really don't want more than this. And less than this is going to make you feel a little bit constrained. And so 3 content pillars is a really good way to go. And you do want some variance. And so I love being funny on my reels. I love connecting with people that way. But if all of my content had to be funny, that just sounds exhausting. I don't feel funny every day. So I also really like teaching, and I really like showing like very practical tips. And so you want to give yourself enough flexibility that you can mix it up, but also you want to give yourself just enough structure that you don't feel like you're showing up every day and having to completely reinvent the wheel. And so, some days it just feels like, yeah, I don't have anything funny today. But you know what? There is something I can pull from that that maybe is more educational that I could teach about. And then you want to think about content that is easily shareable or savable. So think about things that you can imagine somebody screenshotting to remember for later. So how-tos, guides, formulas. At the same time, you don't want to underestimate content that is super relatable or funny or just kind of silly. People love that too. And so it is that combination that of both that will really make you memorable. And the secret sauce of it all, I've said it a lot and I'll probably keep saying it, is to stay authentic. If there's a thought or an idea or a funny thing that you keep returning to while you're out running around, running errands to your properties or walking through homes before a guest check-in, this is gold. Use these sorts of like recurring thoughts that you keep thinking about to inspire content. So it's easy to say to ourselves, I've done it so many times, like, no, that's dumb. You know, I'm the only one who thinks that, like, nobody's going to get that. But the irony is it's those things that work the very best when it comes to content. It's when we try to over curate or make our content appeal to everyone that it falls flat. I think the time that I really learned this lesson for myself is I was walking through doing a walkthrough before a guest check-in, and I did that thing that I think some of us can relate to, where it's like, you know, I see a little fuzzy on the ground and I pick it up and I put it in my pocket because I'm not going to throw it in the trash can because the guest is going to check in. You know, there was like a little screw that was hiding somewhere. Pick it up, put it in my pocket. And I'm like, this is funny. I do this all the time. Like I always get home after walking through properties and my pockets are full of little like scraps of trash. There's got to be other hosts that do this, and like this is funny, like I keep doing this. And so I decided to post a reel about that, and I really had no idea, like, are people gonna get this? Like maybe I'm the only weirdo who does this. And that reel, I like, it got so much engagement. I have people, this was maybe 2 years ago now, and people will still talk about this reel to me, like, I love that reel when you were putting all the trash in your pocket. I do that too. And I've had people send me photos of like light bulbs in their pocket. Like it was something that people really related to, that other hosts really related to, that I almost didn't post because it felt too niche or like people just weren't going to get it. So these are the things that really do reach people. And then one last thing to keep straight here is exponential growth is not the goal. I'll be completely honest and say that in my early days, I did have that vain hope and dream that I'd be Instagram famous and my account would go completely viral and, you know, I'd somehow get hundreds of thousands of followers. You know, maybe not everybody's like me, but there was like that vain desire of maybe I'll reach a ton of people here. And what I've learned though is that's really not the goal. Your account can go viral, but unless you're actually reaching owners who want to hire you to host their home, your business will not grow. So we tend to put virality on a pedestal and mistake it for real success, but followers do not equal success. So all of this is, you know, if this is how you measure yourself by how many followers you have or which posts go viral, you will feel like you failed before you've even gotten started because it's really, really not about that. Just because someone has 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 followers does not mean they have a business or that they're even making money. And so you really don't need very many followers to reach your customers, to meet your clients, to meet people who want you to host their home. One thing I like to say is, you know, we're not in the business of selling t-shirts. If you're selling t-shirts, you have to sell tens of thousands of t-shirts to make money. In our business, you know, you only need a couple of clients for this business to really work for you. If you're only looking for a couple of clients, you don't need to reach 100,000 people before you can find that one dream client. I mentioned earlier that first client of mine connected me with my first 8 homes. And so just one good connection can go so far. So don't get hung up on trying to reach the masses. That will trip you up, and that's really not the goal. And you know, fortunately, yeah, we're not in the business of selling t-shirts. So our business has higher profit margins. That gives us a lot more flexibility when it comes to this. So what you do want is steady, organic growth. So since the inception of my account, I've gained right around 100 followers each month. Right now I'm sitting at just over 5,000 followers. So not a huge account, And it doesn't need to be a massive account. And honestly, I started generating leads through my Instagram account with less than 1,000 followers. My first client came in on Instagram when I had right around 800 followers. So you really don't need a big account. You just want some of that steady organic growth. And even 100 followers is enough to reach people that might be the people that are looking for you to host their home. Okay, step 4, you want to find your niche. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is people trying to talk to everyone at once. And when you do that, your message gets watered down and it won't land with anyone. And so you really want to narrow in on your niche. I think a lot of us have learned how to do this as hosts with our guests. Like we know we don't want everyone staying at our home. We know that our home is best suited for a certain type of guest. And over the years, we've probably all gotten a lot better at making sure that our listing reaches that ideal guest. So you want to think about the same thing here. You want your social media presence and your online presence to attract your ideal client or your ideal owner, the ideal home that you want to host. And so we do have a very specific challenge as hosts when it comes to this. This is something that I ran into. You have to get really clear on whether your account is going to be a travel and leisure account or if it's going to be a co-host account meant at building credibility with owners. Because these are two different accounts. You're either trying to reach guests who you want to come and stay in your home, or you're trying to reach owners who you want to host their home for. You really don't want to try to do both with the same account because you're going to kind of just squander your resources and you're not really going to be able to reach either as well. So this was something I struggled with early on, which is why I'm including it. In the early days of my Instagram account, I was doing a lot of like, come stay at our Scottsdale home, or like, check out the pool. And it, dawned on me like 3 years later. So hopefully saving you a little bit of trouble here, where it was like, wait a second, I've actually never once had somebody book my home because they found me on Instagram. And what I'm actually trying to do with this account is reach clients whose homes I want to co-host for. So why am I trying to sell, my homes as places to stay? And so I'm very intentional about that now. I'm not talking to guests on my Instagram account. That is not who I'm trying to reach. And if people are reaching out, that's like trying to book my home, that might be an indication that like I'm not focusing my content as well as I could. Because who I really want to reach, and for me, the moneymaker is to reach those owners whose homes I want to host. If you want to have a different strategy, if you want to have another Instagram account where you build that guest following, awesome. But don't try to do both on the same account. Also, you want to get clear on whether you're growing a personal brand or a business brand. This for me ended up being a little bit unintentional, but I very much do have a personal brand. I think there's pros and cons to both. The downside of a personal brand is it's a little bit harder to step out of. So like if I wanted to take a break, it's kind of hard because my brand really does revolve around me and me showing up on social media. If you're building it as a business brand, makes it a little bit easier to pass it on and let somebody else take care of it while you take a break. Personal brands can be more engaging. It's usually a little bit easier to build a following with a personal brand. People love, hearing from other people. Just like we know on Airbnb, you're usually more successful if you host with a clear profile photo of your face. It's the same online. People connect more with a person than they do a business. So things to think about, and there's really no right or wrong. You just want to do what's going to make it most easy for you to show up consistently. Let's see, make sure I included everything. Yes, and you really want to talk, talk right at the people that you're hoping to reach. Don't worry about everybody else. So as an example, my niche is overachieving hosts who are exhausted from having to do it all themselves. And so those are the people who I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach people who have maybe been self-managing and they're just over it. They want help. They have another project that they want to move on to, and they're looking to hire somebody to help them out. All right, next step, step 5 on choosing your tools. So I think at this phase, it's just so important to stay lean. Just like we've probably discovered as hosts, it's really easy to all of a sudden sign yourself up for a dozen different softwares that maybe you don't need, and you're spending hundreds of dollars a month that you could be keeping as profit. You can also do this in the content space. I keep my stuff super lean. Another thing I've learned the hard way a couple of years ago, I'm looking at my bank statements and thinking, dang, I'm spending a ton of money on different software subscriptions. Am I even using these? And if I am using them, are they making a difference? And one month I went through them all and I like saved over $1,000 a month just cutting out stuff that I didn't need between my co-hosting business and then also my content creation. And so nowadays I do everything right on Instagram. I don't even use any video editing apps. Not to say that there's not really awesome tools out there and not to discourage you from using those if they help make it easier. But for me, I really like keeping it simple. I use Instagram. I don't use photo editing apps. I don't use video editing apps. I do use Canva. I love Canva, so I do pay for a Canva subscription. I do pay for the ChatGPT Pro. I do love ChatGPT. Now I'm trying to use it a little less than I was using it previously, but that ChatGPT is so helpful to help finish up content ideas and generate content ideas that you can use, hooks to use. ChatGPT is very helpful for that. ManyChat is a good tool that I do pay for where you can set up automated messages to your followers you can say like, comment listing description, and then they'll comment listing description and we'll automatically send them your guide for that. So that's been pretty helpful for me. Opal was what I mentioned. I figured it was worth including here because I really think it makes a difference with my content creation, but I pay for Opal to help limit my time doom scrolling. So I do pay for that. And then Google Docs. We all use Google Docs. It's free. Love that. But all of this, it's less than $100 a month is probably what I'm spending on apps to support my content. I do have a website that my Instagram will route people to. I'm not focusing a ton on that today, but this is an important step, I think, because there's a difference between owned platforms and non-owned platforms. Like at the end of the day, I don't own my Instagram following. Instagram does. If Instagram makes some huge change, or, I've had friends who they've just lost access to their Instagram account, and you'll lose that following. And so ideally you also want to have a home somewhere else that you own. And so the difference between a website and an Instagram account, is I own that website. No one's going to come take it down without me doing it myself. And so a website is very powerful. And that's kind of phase two. Maybe we can do another session on that because I do think it's important, but first you got to get yourself out there, and social media really is the best way to do that. All right, next up, you want to build your systems. Systems are so important when it comes to social media. And when I first got started, it just felt like it should be something that's just easy, that I just do for fun. And that's just really not the reality of it. There's a lot that goes into it, and it can feel really hard and really exhausting unless you give yourself a couple of systems to make it a little bit easier. So the things that I do that have made a big difference for me is I block 3 hours weekly to batch content. Once again, I'm not perfect at this, but this is the goal. I notice that it's just a lot easier for me to sit down and spend 3 hours when I am totally and fully focused in creator mode and just hammer it out. And I can, usually get through like 5 or 6 posts in 3 hours. Whereas if every single day I'm just kind of like trying to drag myself to do it again, it can feel really tough to get in that mindset day after day after day. Whereas if you just give yourself that 3-hour set of time, makes it a lot easier. So I think batching content and blocking that time to do so makes a big difference. I think early on it felt like I said, like it should feel easy. Like it should just feel like something I want to do. I'm a creator. Like I love showing up on social media. And I think that can get in our way where it feels like, something's wrong if you're dreading it. But no, it's just because it is hard to do, and make it easier by batching that and blocking out that time. Next, I love the schedule later button. Instagram, as long as you have a business account on Instagram, you can schedule later. LinkedIn allows you to schedule later. I'm pretty sure all the apps these days have a function where you can schedule your post to go out later. I really underestimated the freedom that comes from scheduling a post to go out later, because the thing that happens if you post it right then and there, I mean, maybe I'm the only one, but you kind of get hooked on like on or who's liking it, who's commenting, and that can kind of consume you. When you schedule it later, I'll forget about it. And sometimes it's 2 days later, I'm like, oh wow, that post did really well. Or oh wow, that post is getting a lot of engagement. But I'm not like consumed by it, and I'm not judging myself based off of that immediate engagement. That because that's really not the goal. And so that schedule later really puts just enough distance. That's been super helpful for me, and also what makes that batching content so effective, because I can spend 3 hours, schedule my post for that entire week. And sometimes I don't go back to Instagram. Okay, that's a lie. I usually go back to Instagram, but I'm not, returning to Instagram to recreate content, recreate content. Use ChatGPT to help generate ideas or hooks. There's some really good guides online. I think what we're all learning about ChatGPT is it's not helpful at all unless you give it the right prompt. And so be very intentional about the prompts that you give it. One thing that I'm doing is just going back to the same feed to continue generating prompts. So I'm not like recreating a new feed each time I'm trying to generate a prompt, so that it can use all of my past information from like the post from last week or the week before, and take that into account as well to keep my voice a little bit more consistent. That's helpful. I keep an iNote for content ideas. And so when I'm out running around to properties and something comes up, an idea of like, oh, that's funny, I'm going to post about that later, I'll make a quick note and add that to my iNote, because as much as I love the idea of pulling together a reel while I'm doing a walkthrough before a guest check-in, we all know how hectic that can be. There's often not the time. And so just making sure that you're capturing that moment that you're thinking about something, because as much as you think you're going to remember it later, you rarely do. And so keeping that I know of like, oh, that's good, I'm going to return to that. Canva, an awesome tool. I love Canva so much. You can create a brand kit on Canva and templates. And so when I'm doing my carousel posts, I can just go in there and I'm not starting from scratch. I have templates that I'm pulling from that I'm just editing. All of my fonts are there. All of my colors are there. I really like Canva. And then lastly, repurpose your content across platforms, and also repurpose your content for the same platform. This is honestly one that I could do so much better at, because the reality is like, as much as it feels like, it's kind of like you feel like you can't repeat an outfit. It feels like, oh, I can't repeat that post. People are going to know. They're not paying close enough attention to know. And sometimes it's the second or third post where you're saying the same thing that really captures someone's attention. So this is something that I'm working on, because you can post a lot more frequently if you're not afraid of repeating content. And maybe you're not posting the exact same thing, but you can just change it. Or you can create a reel about something and then turn that into a carousel post, and you're not having to come up with a completely new original idea. And then my last pro tip is ask for what you want. So about a year ago, I started working with a coach, and I've worked with different coaches off and on, and that's been super helpful for me. She's in a different industry, but she's really good at social media, and that's why I decided to work with her. And my purpose in working with her was I need to reach more co-hosts. We had just grown into our team of 4. It was time to grow, and I wanted to bring in more co-hosts. And so I thought, I was going to build a whole new website and a whole new landing page. I had like all these ideas for how is it going to find these hosts, all of them requiring a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort. And this coach said to me in the call, she said, what if you don't do any of that? And what if instead you just show up on Instagram stories for 1 week every single day and you post about what you want? And my response to her was, I don't know if that'll work. Like, I feel like everybody who follows me already knows that I'm a co-host. And so they would already reach out if they needed something. And she's like, let's just try it, before you're spending money on designing a new website and doing all this other stuff, like just see. And so I did, and a little bit hesitantly. I was honestly a little bit annoyed, but I trusted her. And so I did. And for 1 week, this was last November, actually, I posted on stories every day for 1 week. And you can see these stories. They're in my Instagram at AirBrindy under the Hire Us highlight reel. And every day I just showed up and very simply said, our team is growing. We're looking for more homes to host. And it felt silly. It felt like everybody already knows this. Everybody who follows me already knows this. This is annoying. I'm annoying people. You know, the people who follow me for funny content, this isn't funny. They're going to stop following me. Maybe they did. I don't care. But what was so amazing about this is I got 3 clients out of this one campaign. So I did one campaign for 1 week and I earned 3 clients, and one of those clients had 2 homes. So 4 homes that came out of this one campaign. And not only 4 homes, but 4 of our best homes. Like now are on the list, like our 4 top performing homes. So this was really, I already knew that this was why I had an Instagram account. I had already generated some business through my Instagram, but this was a huge aha moment when I realized, like, wow, this is a funnel that I can turn on when I'm ready to grow, when we're ready to grow our portfolio. And what was so cool about this is not only was I attracting clients, but I was attracting clients who were perfect for our business. So not only are these our 4 best homes, but these are our 3 best clients that are most aligned with our business, because I've been silently training them on Instagram for the last 3-4 years, telling them, this is how I host, this is who I am. And they've been following along because there's something about me that has appealed to them. And so, before the first few owners that I hosted for, and I know some of us have learned this the hard way, where it's like, dang, we are not a match. Like the way you want me to host your home is not how I want to host your home. We all have our own personality. And in the hospitality business, we have to be allowed to show up as we are. And if we have somebody trying to dictate our every move, it gets really difficult. And so what was so cool about this is just seeing, like, wow, this is really powerful to attract the types of owners that I work best with and who already agree with my hosting philosophy. And, and that's why they're reaching out. So this was really, really incredible. And even though it was, I said 3 clients, 4 homes, there was another client who's been a longtime friend, and I ended up managing for her later as well. And I'm not sure she would have reached out had this campaign not happened a couple of months prior. So anyways, lots of power in that. You really do need to ask for what you want. Be brave enough to ask for what you want. Don't be worried about annoying people. I mean, this is your account for your purposes. What's the point if it's not generating business and helping you grow a business that aligns with your goals? So that's all. I'm open to questions. And yes, I am on Instagram, so you can find me at AirBrindy. All of my stuff is on there, and I love being an open book. So take as much as you want to help you grow your own business.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Brindy. I know that I have some takeaways and some really great tips. So I appreciate you spending the time to chat about this. Alice, I don't know if there's any questions in the chat that we want to go through, or if anybody does want to ask Brindy a question, just go ahead and raise your hand.
Sure. Thank you so much, Brandy. And yeah, the chat had loads of appreciation for you. So we're acknowledging this. I did find a very good questions among those messages, all the way from Liverpool, England, from Margaret, who was wondering whether your views and followers were all organic, or if you were doing any sort of like paid acquisition for these.
Yep, that is a great question. They have all been organic, so I haven't done any paid. Kind of scares me because it feels like once I start, I don't know if I'll be able to stop. So I don't think it's wrong to do that, but I think the real cool thing about social media is you can do so much without paying for it. In my early days of my account, I did do a lot. I spent a lot of time engaging with other accounts to get some of that early growth. And I think that did help a lot. So just commenting on other people's stuff, just kind of poking my head in as many places as I could. So, maybe had I not done that, maybe it would have been more important to do something paid, but I haven't done anything paid. Maybe I will in the future. I'm not against it, but I do love that it's been entirely free. I mean, minus the apps that I pay for.
Thank you. And Jessica, I think that's the only question for Brandy I found.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, for Brindy on her strategies, just, yeah, go ahead, and we have a couple minutes left. So
Brittany,
Yeah.
are you a licensed real estate broker, or are you using the co-host terms strategically?
Yeah, so nope, I am not a licensed real estate broker, and I've really leaned into co-host. I think there is a difference between co-hosting and property management. I think co-hosting, you tend to attract a more involved owner who cares. Maybe they don't care, but they just are a little bit, they want to be a little bit more involved in the management of their home. And I've found that this is actually a great way for us to grow our business, is to have those owners who want a little visibility and who want some level of transparency. And so I've leaned all the way into co-hosts. I only refer to myself as a co-host. And that's been a really powerful way to niche ourselves and grow our business and attract clients that we actually work really well with. I tell my team when we have hard days that, like, well, our niche, our high maintenance owners, like that's who we serve best. So just another day. Awesome.
there
Yep.
is one more question from Margaret, who was asking if you write any blogs on Google.
I do not. Nope. We do a little bit of blogs for like I have in the past, I should say, but for specific to co-hosting, I do not. Another thing that maybe I'll do at some point, but I once again think there's a lot of power in just focus. And so I've really put my focus in Instagram, and that's what has worked. So I think before I'll do blogging, one thing I'm trying to do more of is LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's a powerful place to grow and reach people who are looking for help hosting their homes. And so I'm trying to do more like blog style posting on LinkedIn. That's where I'm trying to branch out right now, but I don't do any blogging.
We have another question from London around asking which channel manager or dynamic pricing tools you may be using.
Yep, I use Wheelhouse and Hospitable. So Hospitable and Wheelhouse, that's been awesome for us. Both very easy to use and really easy for the team to learn. I've tried other ones, but that's what's working best for us now.
Do do you offer any mentorship further into the social media side of this?
I do on my website, which is airbrindy.com. I do have a Calendly link there, and I do offer Zoom coaching sessions. Those are very like open format. If you want to talk about social media and if you have questions that you want to submit before, then yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. And I really do. I saw a comment about gatekeeping. I love being an open book. I think especially in this industry, there's no reason to not be, because I think a rising tide lifts all ships. So those coaching sessions, I really try and just, all I can speak from is my own experience. So if you think there's anything I can offer, would love to do that. And it's just, yeah, super open format. And you can either sign up for one session or 3 sessions. And the link is in my Instagram link or my Instagram bio.
And then last question, so you mentioned a 30-day challenge. Is that something that you offer either paid or complimentary?
Ooh, I like the idea of it, but nope, yeah, kind of want, yeah, I don't do anything like that. I
Come
think
on, you're
that's
missing
just like,
money. You threw it at us, and we need the formula.
well, show up and post every day for 30 days. But I could definitely during a coaching session could give some more specific tips and help kind of build that. But I mean, the way I did it is just really just showed up and posted every day for 30 days. I didn't do it as some sort of formal challenge. I just did it completely. It was my own idea that I did on my own. And it did make a difference. So I think, but yeah, I mean, for sure could talk more in detail about how that helps.
My
Yeah.
ADHD doesn't allow me to have any structure with that much free reign.
No, I get that.
Brindy, can you share? I mean, I love your social media, you know that. But can you share any kind of tips, insight on like the negative side of Airbnb and Instagram? I know that it exists, but like how do you kind of get over that? Or like again, what does that side of it look like? I don't know if that's something like you've
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah, it is a good question. I have fortunately kind of dodged that bullet a little bit. I,
Good.
knock on wood, have had very little, I mean, I would say I've had no hate in my Instagram. I've had some like off-color comments here and there that I just ignore. But something that is interesting about that is I think when you run into that is when you go super viral. My account has not gone super viral. I've had a reel here and there that will get, 10,000 views or so, but I don't have reels with millions of views. I don't have tens of thousands of followers. And I think that's another reason to just really focus on that slow organic growth, because it's when you start getting the loads of people and all the people who are not your client that you're more likely to get that. And so what I do is if something's like, I only interact with stuff that I want to interact with. I just completely ignore the other stuff. If there's something that feels like just I don't want it there, feels a little creepy, I'll block and delete it. Just like I get to do that with my own account. But yeah, I think focusing on that slow organic growth is the best way to protect yourself from the people that are trying to get in your business.
Love it.
Yeah, and thank you, Brindy, so much for your time today. For you all to stay in touch with Brindy and ask any additional questions, please check out the Co-host Network Community Center. I'm going to be posting a link to the recording there later tonight. And any questions that we may have missed in the chat, I'll send over to Brindy so she can answer there as well. Just one final reminder to don't forget to sign up for the next round on October 15th. I'm just gonna share, or Alice, if you can share a link to that splash page. And then finally, I would love for y'all to share any feedback you have on this session with our feedback survey here. So of course, any kind of like thoughts or concerns for us to help improve or support future workshops is appreciated. But do want to thank you all again for your time today. Again, Brindy, wonderful job. Lot of great tips that I think a lot of us can take back on our Instagrams. But yeah, thank you so much for all of your time today. Have a good rest of the day. For our folks in the UK, have a wonderful evening, and see you all soon. Happy hosting, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.